Hello there everybody, it is me XfreezerBunny and welcome back to another Sims 4 speed build. So today we're building a family home. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like recently I've been doing a lot of really complicated builds and also a lot of themed builds as well. Last time I did a werewolf watchtower, and a couple of weeks ago I did a very complicated Lord of the Rings inspired build. So for this week's build, I wanted to take it easy for a little bit and do something that's a little bit more straightforward. So I decided to do a typical British family home. Kind of like a suburban home, but kind of like a British version of it. So yeah, a lot of you guys really enjoyed my semi-detached home builds from last month. So once again, I decided I wanted to tackle yet another British home. But before I continue, I would like to announce the winner for my werewolf giveaway. So congratulations to the person who left this comment. At the time of recording this, I have already contacted them and the codes have been dispatched. And I would also like to say a special thank you to everybody who joined the giveaway. We got hundreds of entries, and sorry to everybody who didn't get a code, but don't worry, I can assure you there will be more giveaways in the future, so please don't give up and please look out for the next release because I'm fairly certain there's also going to be another giveaway for that as well. But anyway, for this house, I was at a loss for inspiration, but as per usual, I remedied that by just going into Google Earth and dropping myself into a random plot of land in the UK and looked at what the typical houses there were like. And I've also scoured through quite a few kind of like real estate websites just to see what the interior of the houses look like and also what the planning looks like. And I basically kind of just collected kind of like the common features of the houses that I've seen and incorporated them into this build. So this build actually ended up having 3 bedrooms, which is fairly small actually for UK homes because I've seen them have quite a few more. I was pleasantly surprised to see some homes have 4 bedrooms, even 5. So I guess despite the relative compactness of certain houses in the UK, they're still very efficiently planned if you manage to fit in that many bedrooms in typical homes. But anyway, this home is furnished for a family of 3. It's a fairly sophisticated family, kind of like maybe with a dated taste, because the furnishings did turn out somewhat reminiscent of styles from the 2000s, which is my decade, because that's the decade I spent most of my childhood in. So a lot of you guys who grew up in the 2000s would probably recognize some things. This family also has a teen who is a rebel. Kind of like a punk inspired teen, because if I'm not mistaken, the UK is like really into like punk culture. I think punk actually originated in the UK. I might be wrong, but if my fashion history is correct, Vivienne Westwood established the first like punk boutique. Don't know where it is, but I'm pretty sure that was like a big trend back in like the 1980s if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, this house definitely does pull a lot from the 2000s decade and maybe even from the 90s decade as well. So despite the relative low number of bedrooms for this house, it does actually have quite a lot of space, especially a lot of garden space, which I'm really happy about. The landscaping for this build is like one of my favorites I've ever done. And yeah, the front garden doesn't have much. I've seen in certain British homes that sometimes the front yard would literally just be paved off and that's it. No plants, no landscaping, no nothing. But in this house, I did incorporate a little bit of landscaping, which we will be doing the preliminary landscaping before we move on to the interior. But right now we are taking a little bit of a pause to furnish the interior, just to do the layout, because I wanted to make sure I fit in every room I wanted for this house before I started the landscaping. Because the thing about doing landscaping first is that once you do it, it gets very messy if you want to change the layout of the house, because you're gonna have to change the landscaping, and that can be very annoying, which is why I try to avoid doing the landscaping first. There's also a 2-car garage, which I'm really proud about. I just miss garages in The Sims. I just felt so used to garages in The Sims 2 and Sims 3, and that's why I try to incorporate them as much as I can in my family home builds. But anyway, this is the main dining room, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really got a sense of that 2000s vibe, and I just felt really nostalgic. One really unique feature of this dining room would have to be this kind of like console table setup thing. I used actually using those overhead counter cabinets, which are base game, but they have these little windows that have plates in them, and they look so good. They look like, you know, those buffet tables, console tables. And of course, this dining room also has a wine fridge, because I feel like British people are really into wine. I follow quite a few British YouTubers, and they could not stop talking about wine or beer, whatever. Because yeah, pub culture is pretty big in the UK. If what my senses are telling me are correct, based on what I've heard from the British YouTubers that I've been following. A lot of them are AnyTubers, so if you guys know CDogVA and Giguk, oh, I love them so much. I've been watching their podcast since like 2020, so it's been 2 years, but yeah, it's so good. If you guys are wondering, Trash Taste Podcast, so good. It's so funny as well, it's so addicting. Actually, some of the earliest YouTubers that I followed were actually British YouTubers. If you guys know Jack and Finn Harry's, I've been subscribed to those two since like 2010 or 2011. They were like the first few YouTubers that I actually followed, and very quickly after that, I followed Dan and Phil as well. It's kind of sad that they're not doing as much content now, but I absolutely loved their Sims 4 Let's Play, the Dill series. Absolutely love that. Those were the days. Anyway, moving on to the living room. I loved that TV display. That was the piece of furniture that gave me like major 2000s vibes. I remember the time when we were still transitioning from like those big brick TVs to like the flat screen TVs. Analog TVs, that was the word I was looking for. I feel like that stand would be more for like analog TVs. Honestly, I don't know how we survived. Cause looking at analog TVs now, I could barely see anything. And I remember as a kid, you know, we didn't have a lot of money, so this was like the 2000s, but yes, we still had analog TVs, okay? I would like be in my parents' bed like 10 feet away from the TV. It was like a tiny TV, maybe like 3 feet wide. And it was an analog TV, and I still managed to see everything. I'm like, I don't know. My eyesight has definitely gotten worse ever since I started college and working professionally, because I spend most of my days just in front of a computer. It's actually so bad. But, you know, it is what it is. You gotta do what you gotta do to survive. So I really enjoyed the living room, but the kitchen, pretty straightforward kitchen, I'm not gonna lie. I did try to put in a bar in here because I feel like we need that more casual dining space. And oh, one thing that people did point out in British homes is that you guys do tend to have the washer in the kitchen. So there is a washer over there. There's no dryer just because I couldn't fit one, but I did put a clothesline in the backyard. So anyway, this is the main entrance, you know, pretty straightforward. Oh my gosh, radiators, you guys. If you saw my last build, I just remembered. I don't know what I was thinking when I called those boilers. Because I felt wrong when I was saying it. I knew those were radiators. I don't know why I kept calling them boilers. It was just another one of those brain fart moments, I guess. But it happens, you know, whenever I do these commentaries, I do tend to be on autopilot most of the time. So apologies if I missaid something. Oftentimes, I would just be in a derpy state. So I remember I did this really epic, like legendary fail when I called like Van Gogh painting a Picasso painting. Oh my gosh, the history buff in me, the art buff in me is like still killing myself over that. And I said that in a video from like 2015. Anyway, moving on to the master bedroom. I tried to fill this with really comfy looking furniture, which we sadly don't have a lot of, which is quite frustrating. So I did use that really comfy bed that came with Seasons and that lounge chair, massage chair from Spade Refresh, which is actually a really good looking chair. Oh, and also the mini fridge that I had as like a wine fridge thing also came with Spade Refresh. I guess I have no regrets calling Spade like one of my favorite packs because I did do a sponsored video with EA. They asked me to like make a video about my favorite packs, and you know, as a builder myself, I use that as the criteria for my favorite packs as a builder, and Spade was one of the packs that I chose. If you haven't seen it, it's a video called How The Sims Inspired Me to Become an Architect. I know that doesn't sound like a video where you would get pack recommendations for me necessarily, but you know, I kind of try to fit it in there at some point. I never actually talked about that, haven't I? But yeah, I did a sponsored video with EA. How crazy is that? That was like from back in December, so it's like over 6 months ago. A lot of things have been happening, and unfortunately, a lot of personal things, so I couldn't really talk about everything even if I wanted to in the video. I tried to keep the video concise and straightforward to what the video is about, but you know, once in a while I also like to throw in some personal stuff in there as well. But yeah, really exciting. I also showed my face there for the first time in that EA sponsored video. And since then, I have done another face cam vlog. Oh my gosh, it sounds so wrong calling it that. Face cam video. I did film a room tour video, which looking back, I probably could have done better, but you know, I was under pressure because I needed to like really just get that video out because I was gonna buy like new shelving, and if I didn't film it at that point, the room's gonna look different and there's gonna be no transformation to be seen. So look out for an updated room tour coming soon. Not really soon, but coming in the future. There we go. If you haven't seen it yet, you might want to check it out though, if you want to see what my old room looked like, because I'm not sure if I'm gonna keep that video up once I have my new room. I might actually archive it or something like that. So yeah, anyway, I just completely rambled on the part where I was furnishing the rebellious teen's bedroom, but it's pretty straightforward, you know, kind of punk-ish. And I specifically chose that because I did talk about me going to the All Time Low concert in my last video. I know that sounds really random, but you know, these commentaries do tend to be more off the cuff. So I just, you know, talk about whatever comes to mind. Like I said, autopilot. But yes, can we take a second to appreciate like punk music and how I never really talk about my taste for music? But yeah, if you grew up in the 2000s, liking punk music is pretty much inevitable. But if you're curious, I love All Time Low, like I said, Busted, and McFly. I love them. I think Nothing Personal is probably like one of my favorite albums of all time. And my favorite song from All Time Low would probably be Runaways and Damned If You Do, Damned If You Don't. And I'm so excited. I hope that's part of their set list for their concert. I just hope it's a mix of their old and new stuff. 'Cause I've never been to an All Time Low concert. I hope it's a mix of their old and new stuff because I think I prefer the old stuff. It also gives me so much nostalgia just thinking about All Time Low, because if you didn't know, if you guys weren't around in the Sims 3 days, All Time Low actually performed one of the trailer musics for The Sims 3 Generations, which is hands down still my favorite trailer from The Sims of all time. Generations was so nostalgic for me, and it's crazy to think that came out over 10 years ago. I think Generations was like 2011. Oh, it's crazy. But yeah, time flies. And we still don't have garages in The Sims 4. Yay. Yeah, the bar is low for The Sims 5, but hopefully garages would make a comeback. We just furnished the front yard. There's a little bit of landscaping in there, and I also used the trees from Werewolf. But moving on to the backyard, I absolutely loved doing this landscaping. Definitely one of the best I've done, just in terms of making it look realistic. So I've done this technique many times before, but it's been a while since I've done it. The striped lawn technique, or like mowed lawn. I used to do that quite a lot in my builds from like back in 2016, 2017. I don't know why I stopped doing it. Maybe it's because I stopped doing, you know, more suburban looking homes. That's gonna change though, because I am planning to do more suburban looking homes. I just feel so spent with all of the themed builds. I feel like I want to do more suburban homes, but I just loved this backyard. It's a little bit overgrown, and I'm obsessed with those evergreen trees from Werewolves. I would get the pack just to have those evergreen trees. It's so good. I did notice that in a lot of British backyards, they tend to be pretty unkempt. So that's the vibe I was going for. Oh my gosh, I can't end this video without thanking you guys for all of your TV show recommendations, because I did ask you guys to recommend some TV shows in my last video, and since then I have watched all seasons of Broadchurch, and like you guys said, I absolutely enjoyed it. Of course, Olivia Colman, absolutely brilliant, and David Tennant, super epic as well. And I've also watched another British crime show called Unforgotten, which is once again another really good show. So thank you guys for indoctrinating me into the British contemporary crime dramas, and now I have fallen into the rabbit hole of British crime dramas, which seems like an endless pit at this point. But on that note, that's going to be it for this build, I guess. Thank you guys so much for watching. You all have an awesome day. Enjoy the rest of the video, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.